Are you looking to surrender to life? Are you done fighting life? Are you ready to surrender and go with the flow of life so you feel happier, more fulfilled, and more content that you are in the right place? Hey, I'm Danielle Kottis. Welcome to my channel, Level Up to Glow Up. This is episode 9 of my podcast. We talk about surrendering to the cycles of life. This will help your life to be so much easier, so much more fulfilling. It will give you a brighter outlook on life. It will change your perception of your life and the perspective of how it should go. It will show you that you can 1000% trust in yourself and the universe, and that life is so much better when you just go with the flow, surrender to the divine order of things, and know that you are truly in the right place at the right time, which means that you are right now in the right place at the right time. So stay tuned for episode 9. Thank you so much for joining. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends. And I will see you in just a moment. All right. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to this wonderful space and time today. Today we're going to talk about surrendering to the cycles of life, right? We talk about the cycle of life, but we don't talk about the many cycles that are in the cycle of life. And I bring this up because everything stems from my own craziness, right? And how I'm learning how to process things, and also from all of you guys who always reach out to me, and it seems that you all are mostly going through very similar things as me. So that is amazing, that we are all on the same energetic level, so that it guides what I'm going to share with you today. So when we talk about the cycle of life, right, we talk about birth, right, the journey, and death. And that is just the cycle of life. Well, within that cycle are what feels like thousands of mini cycles that you are going to go through. And within those cycles are also other cycles, right? So there are actually infinite number of circles of life and circles of things, and cycles that you will go throughout your lifetime, right? And it is the problem with these cycles is nobody actually tells you that you're going to be going through all these little cycles. And a lot of these cycles are actually these cycles of identity. We are birthed, right? And we come into this space where we don't know who we are, right? Or what we're here for, or any of that. And as we grow, people tell us, right, why we're here, who we are, what we want to do in life, what's important to us, things like that, right? And all of that stuff gets programmed into our brain between the ages of 0 and 7. And through this process, we pick up other people's information, right? And it sort of dictates the way our life is going to go, right? Depending upon, different situations such as religious beliefs, right? Family expectations, things like that. And we kind of plan, it's really like somebody else planned our life, right? And we think we planned it, right? And it starts unfolding, right? And all of these societal information gets programmed, right? Like what we should do for a living, how we should act, what should be important to us, what the ideas of success are, what love should be. And we learn all of these things from TV, movies, right? People, our teachers, our friends, things like that. And as life unfolds, we come to different endings and beginnings, right? So really it's an endless ending and beginning of things. And I had written something the other day, because I'm in the process of writing a book, is that I'll give you a small example of why these cycles are so important, and how sometimes small cycles can be a good analogy for larger cycles, right? So when we have resistance to change, right, it causes us severe anxiety, right? This severe feeling of like shit, like, oh my God, everything's falling apart. Things aren't going to work out how we want, and we don't know what's coming next. So I'm going to give you quite a number of examples so that you can use it in your own life and use it how you seem fit. Okay. I'll give you the biggest one in my life was when I became a mom. And for those of you who are not mothers or fathers or whatever, maybe you have a dog, maybe you started a new job, just use it in a context that you had. But for becoming a mother, that is a huge life change, right? And this is, a good portion of your life you have been not responsible for another human being, right? So you spent your whole life in this kind of cycle of just taking care of yourself, whether or not you really were or not taking care of yourself, right? When you become a mom, that cycle ends, okay? And with that cycle comes an end of an identity. And the problem with a cycle ending is that you lose your identity, and everything you thought you knew, you don't, right? Everything you thought you knew about yourself, you don't. And you're like, fuck. Oh my God. Now I want you, as I talk about motherhood, I want you to use this as an example in your own life. And you'll know what I'm talking about because it will be a loss of a job, or like, let's say that you're an athlete and you get hurt and now you can no longer, be in the NFL or something like that. So it's a severe loss of identity, and you don't know how to move forward because you only know one aspect of yourself, right? You only know the aspect of yourself in terms of motherhood, the one that was single, right? Or the one that was married, or the one that took care of him or herself, right? Depending upon what you're going through. You only know that aspect of yourself. So when it comes to an end, you're afraid of what that means, right? What does it mean now that I am no longer just me, right? And it might be, this happened with my business. What does that mean if I'm no longer a mom coach? What does this mean if I'm no longer married, a wife, right? What does this mean if I'm no longer a group exercise instructor? What does this mean, right? So you have picked up these things that you now identify with who you are as a person, right? You've identified so much of it that when the cycle comes to an end, it is like, oh my God, I can't. How can I lose this part of me, right? Moms have identity crisis when they become a mother, actually multiple times. And in a way, we'll get into it, is a blessing, right? That you're going to experience as these ends of cycles. But you're going through this process of, who am I now, right? If I am no longer a wife and now I am a mom, right? What does that mean? If I'm no longer a group exercise instructor, right? What does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean I've lost myself completely, right? That this part of me no longer exists? Or, can I integrate it? Like, how can I do this? So moms go through this really intense process of trying to understand how to be a mom, right? Because they've never identified with this identity of mom, right? They've only identified with the fact that they're a wife, or that they're, like in my case, Danielle, or a daughter, or, my work, or whatever. Now, when you become a mom, all these things start changing, right? And you're almost adding like a new identity. But this identity seems very restrictive, right? That, you won't be able to do the things you wanted to do. You may not be able to pursue a certain thing. You may not be able to see a certain amount of friends, things like that. So what happens is, you struggle to hold on to this identity, right? You're like, no, I am not letting this go. And you might find this if you're about to retire, or you might find it if you lost a job, or you may start a new one in a totally different career, or you left a toxic relationship, or you just got married, or you're just about to have a baby. You're going to experience this, and this is what I'm talking about, little cycles of life all the time. And it's going to be like, no, I am not letting go of this identity. Like, this is all I know, and this is what's comfortable, and this is what feels right for me, and I am not letting go of this, right? And when you're stuck in that resistance, right, that you're like, absolutely not, I am not leaving, this feels comfortable for me, I am not doing that, it causes a lot of pain, right? A lot of suffering. This resistance to taking on possibly a new identity, letting go of an old identity, is what causes us the most amount of pain, the most amount of suffering. We are legitimately resisting the change that we are going through. Now, when it comes to working with these cycles, you're going to go through many, many, many of them throughout your life. And the more that you are able to surrender to the change, the easier life will go for you. It is our resistance to change that is sort of like, what's the word? Insanity, right? Because life is in constant change. Now, there's a law of a universe. I forget what it's called. It might be the law of change or law of circumstance or something. I forget. Where it is, everything is constantly changing. There is no, like, energy is not stagnant, right? It is in a constant process of change. So really, we are, in essence, right, not going with the flow of life or the natural order of the universe and how it works, right? Because we're afraid. We're afraid of what that means when a cycle ends. We're terrified of what it means when we don't know who we are anymore, or where we now have to question who we are or step into something new, right? So really, we're going through the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, which is change, expecting a different result, not change, right? So it's our resistance that causes the most pain. And at least that's what I saw with my clients and myself, including like this situation I'm going through right now, is that the more you resist the end of the cycle and the step into the new cycle, the harder it is for you, the harder life is for you, the more pain and struggle you will go through, because you're resisting the natural order of flow of the universe, right? And I will give you an example of how this will show up. One of my clients had reached out to me, and we worked together about 2 years ago, and she had told me that she was thinking about leaving her partner at the time, right? Keep in mind, 2 years ago, right? She felt the ending of this cycle. She was like, I'm over it. But she struggled with, well, what happens if I do leave? What does that mean for me? How am I going to be able to do this by myself? How am I going to be able to take care of a family? How am I going to be able to do this? At the same time, another cycle was coming to an end. She wanted to leave the job that she was at, but she was like, no, what am I going to do if I don't have this job? What do I do if I don't have this, situation, right? This is what I identify with. I'm that person that works at this job. I'm that person that's in this relationship with this person. What happens if it comes to an end? And as I tried to help her process this, right, it's more of accepting your own intuition, accepting that part of you is saying this is over and done with, right? And this is how I felt in a lot of things with my business, as a group exercise instructor, with my relationship, right? It's almost like there's an intuitive hit that you get as a cycle is coming to an end. And it's almost like something is telling you that it's no longer either making you happy, it's no longer working for you. It's time to step into something new, and you're afraid of the change, right? So you do everything you can to not make the change, and you make excuses for why you shouldn't make this change, and you allow it to sort of make more cycles, right? Make more cycles. So instead of saying, okay, my intuitive hit is correct, it's time to end this cycle, and whatever happens, happens, you resist it, okay? Now, what's really cool about this is the universe just gave you that intuitive hit, or your subconscious, whatever you believe in, they're both correct, gave you that hit. Now, if you had followed through at that time, things might have gone a little bit easier. Now, because you're resisting the follow through of your intuitive hit, guess what the freak happens? The universe comes in and says, boom, I'm going to help you. I'm going to make sure that you get to the end of the cycle and move on to the next one, because that's for your highest good. So guess what happened to her? COVID hit, right? And so some of you are going to see that COVID was a blessing in disguise, because it helped you end a cycle without you having to actually do it. She got pushed into she basically lost her job, right? Got pushed into owning her own business, which she always wanted to do. And it pushed her to start a new cycle. And that is really amazing, because she allowed it to happen no matter what, right? And she allowed the universe to come in and change it for her. But she could have changed it the entire time, right? She could have changed it 2 years ago. And because she decided not to and resisted the change, the universe came in and changed it drastically for her. So that's what happens when you come to an end of the cycle and you're not willing to make the change, the universe will make sure. That's when something crazy happens. When you get kicked out of your apartment, you get high in debt, or you have to retire early, or you have to get a new job, or you get laid off, or you get pregnant, or something like that. When something drastic happens, it means that it was always meant to happen, right? Especially when it comes to these cycles. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. When it comes to these cycles, is that you already wanted to make the change and you resisted it and you didn't do it. So the universe is like, forget you, I'm coming in and I'm going to do something drastic to allow you to make the change that you wanted to make, right? So that's really incredible. That's just a small example of what happened with her. If we use another example from another client that I had, she had a really rough relationship, right? And she knew the guy was cheating on her. Or her husband was cheating on her. She knew all of these things, right? And she kept making excuses. She was like, oh, I should leave. Oh, no, I'm not going to leave. Yes, I should leave, so on and so forth. Eventually, what happened is because she resisted the cycle, the universe came in and was like, and the guy left her, right? So these are extremes, but I just want to give you some examples so you understand what I'm talking about, where these cycles of life and rebirth are constantly happening to you. And really the issue that happens is why we resist this change so much is because we resist what is coming in, letting go of what no longer serves us, letting go of part of our identity that no longer serves us, right? So if you fully identify with, being a spouse or a mom or a dad or, this kind of job that you have, a financial advisor or, whatever you did in your life, you're resisting letting go of something that no longer serves you. And no matter how much you resist it, it's going to happen to you regardless, because the universe knows exactly what is the best thing for you. And you already know what is the best thing for you. And sometimes we don't want to take that leap, right? Because what does that mean if we're not that financial advisor? What does that mean if we are no longer, a daughter or a wife or a mom? Or what does that mean about us, right? Now, as you get more comfortable with these cycles and you start to see the cycles in your life, now a lot of you are going to be going through more than one cycle at a time, especially right now in history, right? Astrologically, you're going to be going through a lot of different cycles that are ending, right? And that is the hardest part. When new ones are beginning, it's fun. But when some are ending right before, there's like a lag before the other one starts, it becomes really uncomfortable because now the universe said, well, no, you no longer have a job, or you no longer have this, or you no longer have that, or those friends fell away, or that relationship fell away. And you're like, oh my God, okay, so now what do I do? Do I hold on to this idea of who I was, right? Do I hold tight to that? Do I try to stay at this end of the cycle because I'm afraid of what's going to happen? Or do I let go of this and just be like, okay, well, I guess we'll see what happens. Well, a lot of us, including myself, don't want to let go of what we know, right? What we know about ourselves, that we are this person, that we are this identity, right? And when we have to step into this new cycle, it can be really scary because we can't see where it's going. We can't see. It's kind of like the fog. There was fog out the other day, and this was like an awesome metaphor for life, right? Because you're walking out and all you can see is like 3 or 4 steps in front of you, right? Sometimes 10 feet, sometimes 20. But really, everything else is foggy. Like you can't see where you're going, right? And it's only as you drive the car or you take the steps, does more of your path start illuminating, right? So really, that's kind of what the ending of a cycle is. And as you enter a new one, is that you don't know where you're going, you don't know who you are, you don't know what's about to happen, but you can only see a couple steps in front of you. the problem is that we just stay there. We're like, nope, we ain't walking, right? Like, I can't see what's out there, so I am not going there, right? But what you don't see is that you can't see, let's say, 2,000 feet in front of you. If you just keep walking as the path illuminates, like, you may see a castle or a freaking treasure for all I fucking know, right? You can't possibly know what is out there, right? So instead of taking the steps and being like, okay, well, it's time to let go of this, it's time to let go of that, and I'm just going to keep moving forward and see what happens, you just stay there. You're like, no, stop fucking doing this. Universe, I don't give a shit. Right? And I see this a lot with people that I know are retired or becoming new parents or have puppies or whatever. You're like, no, I'm not fucking doing this. Not moving forward. And you resist the change. And it causes you so much pain and suffering. Why? Because you can't be in the present, right? We're going to talk a lot about this, but when you're at the end of this cycle, you're stuck in the past and worried about the future. So you can't actually see where you are right this moment. You're like, okay, I was here and I miss being here and I loved it here. I love this relationship. I love this job. This is all I know. I don't know how to do anything else. This is my favorite thing. I used to do this. I used to do that, blah, blah, blah. And over here, you're like, oh God, what if I have to go there? What if that doesn't work out? What if this decision doesn't work out? What if this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me? Blah, blah. So you're stuck, right? This is where anxiety is future, focus on the future. Depression is focused on the past, right? So you're, in essence, at the end of this cycle, living in between time, right? And not only are you living in between time, but you are focusing on all the fucking negative things that are going on, right? You're like, oh God, this, I'm going to miss this. I'm going to hate that. I'm going to do this, da, da, da. So your brain goes back and forth and you're stuck between the space and time. And you can't see what's actually happening to you in the moment. You can't appreciate the moment. And you can't begin to see why is this happening for you, right? The highest good of all. We talked a lot about it yesterday and in the previous videos about finding the gift in situations and things like that. When it comes to an end of a cycle, again, you always, like I say, always ask yourself, what did you learn in that now that this cycle is coming to the end? Ask yourself, why is it coming to an end, right? Why is it time for a friendship, a relationship, a job? I don't know, what you did, a stage in your life, whether you're going to, you're going to college or you're going to motherhood or you're going to, menopause or whatever you think. Ask yourself, why is this cycle coming to an end? And what good is coming out of this cycle that's coming to an end? What endings have to happen for me in order for me to move forward and become the person that I want to be, or step into the person that I want to be, or step into something new? Why is this a good thing, right? Instead of holding on to be like, no, I'm not changing. I don't want to leave this. Why is this a good thing? And then ask yourself another question when it comes to your identity, because these cycles create multiple identity crises. Right? And these are good. Identity crises are great because what it does is, again, it's shedding the layers of yourself that you have conformed to society. Shedding all of the stuff that you actually don't like, right? I'll give you an example. Like somebody who is very, which no judgments here. I am the same way. Somebody who's imagine a wealthy person that you have a judgment of, right? Somebody who I guess, dresses really nicely, has a lot of things, shows off, is very flashy with their stuff, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that they're happy, right? And the same thing, for anybody really, is if you're kind of flashy, you're kind of showy-offy, you're kind of looking for outside validation and things like that. What you don't realize is over time, because of these cycles, this identity will strip from you. Whether it's you lose your money or somebody calls you out about something, or you come to the realization that you're not actually happy showing off, right? Because this isn't who you are, right? Who you are in your brain, right? Your identity of who you think you are isn't actually who you are in your soul, right? Your authentic self. So what will happen is the universe will cause these cycles to come to an end to help you strip you of your identity so that you can see that that's not really what matters to you. right? This no longer serves you. Like maybe you don't want to be flashy anymore. Maybe you actually want to have a legitimate connection with other people and not try to prove yourself all the time, right? So you're shedding an identity, right? Same thing when you become a mom, you're shedding an identity. It's coming off of you, right? Because it no longer serves you, right? It's like, okay, well, I was partying, I was drinking, I was having a great time, I was doing this, blah, blah, blah. But really, it's fun, but was that really helping you? Were you growing and evolving? Obviously not, because the universe thought you should be a parent. So it strips you of your identity and says there's more to life than what you think. There's more to you than what you think. So each time you go through a new cycle, it strips you of an identity, which is a godsend. So so you become closer to you and what you want in life and what really makes you happy and what really makes you feel content and satisfied and supported and things like that. So each time you go through these cycles, your identity strips off. And if you see that as a good thing, that this is the best thing for you, then life will be much easier because there's constant cycles. You're going to constantly go through these cycles, no matter what. And even your resistance causes the change in the cycle, the ending of the cycle to be much more difficult. So every time you're coming to an end, like in my case, I'm coming to an end of a cycle. Actually, I'm starting a new beginning, right? But the end of my cycle was that my group exercise job was no longer serving me. And I knew that 2 years ago, and I decided to keep going with it until I said, no, this is no longer working for me, right? My relationship with my ex-husband, right, I knew it was coming to an end about 2 years ago. And I said, no, I'm going to try and hold on to this. Well, it ended, right? I chose to end it, right? My, experience with my business, right? It was coming to an end. It was no longer serving me anymore. It was no longer making me as fulfilled as I could have been. It was actually causing me more anxiety. So that had to come to an end. And what I had to do was say, okay, well, I've identified with all of these things, right? Who am I now that I don't have those things, right? That identity. Who am I now? And then what good is going to come out of this, right? What have I been holding myself back from? What have I been resisting in my life that the universe said, nope, you just all got to end at the same exact fucking time, right? So not listening to your intuition like I did is not helping the situation because they're all going to end, right? So as it ends, it caused me a lot of turmoil and change, right? Same thing with my mom having cancer. All these cycles started ending at the same exact time. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What does this mean? No, I love my job. No, I love my business. No, I love my mom. No, I love this. I love this. Okay. So what does this mean? Okay. As you go through this, it's like, no, I don't want to let go of my business because I've worked so hard for it, because I've poured my heart and soul, my blood, sweat, and tears, my money, everything, right? What would happen if I just let it go? What would that mean? Would it mean that I failed? Would it mean that I'm not good at this? Would it mean that, what are people going to say, right? Same thing with my ending of my marriage, right? I don't want it to end because if it ends, what does that mean? That I wasn't a good wife, that I didn't do the right thing, that happy ever afters doesn't really happen? What does that mean? What are people going to say? What are they going to do? Yada, yada, yada. Same thing with my, the group exercise, okay, well, if I leave the gym, what does that mean? That's all I've known for 10 years, right? Working out 5 days a week, like teaching people. What does that mean? Like, I don't like that anymore. What does that mean about me, that I don't enjoy what I do, right? So whatever cycle you're going through, you're going to be like, shit, like, what does this mean about me? Can I do any of these things by myself? Can I be by myself? Can I support myself? Can I work out by myself? Can I find a job by myself? All these things are going to start happening. And I'm giving you like 3 different things, right? Relationships, career, love, happiness. All these cycles are constantly ending and beginning. And as I went through the end of the cycle, it became really difficult to say, okay, well, I have to accept that this is it. Like, this has changed. This is the end of the cycle. Well, now, what about the beginning of the next cycle? Like, no, I don't want this next cycle to come in. What am I going to do? What am I going to do by myself? What am I going to do to live? What am I going to do to, will I have love again? Will I find a good job? Will I be able to have another business? Can I make another business? Can I do this? Can I do that? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Okay. Just like I was talking about. Stuck in the past. Fear of the future. Can't be in the now. I can't see, right, what's about to happen. All I know, and which I'm trying to help you give yourself the gift, that when the cycles end, it is for your highest good, right? All of this was no longer serving me, and all of your cycles that are ending were no longer serving you. And it's time to move on. It's the fear of what if it doesn't work out better that causes the pain and suffering. The thought that this was what was best for you and that something in the future it will not be is what causes the pain and suffering. Focusing so much on this was comfortable, this felt good, this was what I know, and being like, okay, I'm going to just trust that things are going to work out, right? Is the most difficult thing. So, when you're stuck between the end and the beginning of the cycle, what I want you to try and do is focus on the fact that you are in the perfect place at the perfect time right now, right? Sometimes the in-between stage is the perfect stage to be in, right? Because you're learning how to let go of control. You're learning how to surrender to yourself, to the universe, to the field of potential, whatever the frick you want to call it, right? You're learning how to trust yourself. You're learning how to trust whatever else is out there. And you're learning how to accept that change is inevitable. When you're learning how to do this, life becomes much easier, right? It becomes much more enjoyable because you now know that all things come to an end, right? In little bits throughout your entire lifetime, right? All these little things come to an end. They begin, they start, they end. They begin, they start, they end. And you will begin to see the beauty in the end of a cycle, at the end of something, right? And you'll start to see that at each end of these little mini cycles that you have, you are better than you've ever been. You now know, like we talked about, what feels right for you, what is good for you, and what isn't. You've learned lessons as the cycle comes to an end, right? And we'll talk so much about this. Life is just one big school, one big school, one big thousands of lessons learned, growth and evolution, right? That's it. And that's why there are these so many little cycles. So you will learn to appreciate, even in the deepest of despair, that these end of cycles are the best thing for you, right? Because new things come in, new fun, exciting things. Now the problem, I would say acceptance, it becomes difficult, but you will find a way after you watch this video to accept that this cycle is ending, and that's the best thing for you. And the easiest way to end the cycle is just to accept that this stuff, these people, this situation, this job, this whatever, doesn't work for you anymore. And that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean that you screwed up. It doesn't mean you made a mistake. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that you have evolved as a person. And that is fucking awesome. That is fucking awesome. You evolved as a person, right? Spiritually, emotionally, physically. You've evolved. That means that whatever started the cycle was so that you can learn and grow. And guess what? You did. So you learned so much and you grew so much that this cycle had to end. And a new one has to begin. A new one that serves you now, right? Because that cycle, like what I've learned is that, and I will totally use my example with my ex-husband. Like, I needed that cycle. and I enjoyed very much of that cycle, right? There were some that I did not, but that cycle was meant for me. And the amount of time that I was in that cycle to learn and to grow about myself, learn what's important to me, learn how to be assertive, know what love is, things like that. I had a son, so there was another little cycle in there. Learned how to be in a relationship, right? How to be a mom, how to have a partnership, what I want in a partnership, things like that. And when I learned and grew and learned the lessons that I needed to learn from that cycle, it had to end. Whether I wanted it to or not, it had to, right? Because that is the universal order. That is the universal order. That is a law, right? As you end a cycle, you raise your vibrational frequency, right? So, and we will talk a lot about this. But at the end of the cycle, it's because your vibration raised, raised, and is because you have learned all you needed to learn. You have grown, you have evolved, you passed the tests or whatever you want to call them, right? Those are your personal tests that you decided to create for yourself before you got here on this planet. But that's for a different day and different time. Like soul contracts, reincarnation, things like that. Maybe I should just touch on that for a second. You created these tests for yourself, just so you're fully aware. Okay, long before you got here, you made a contract with yourself and you were like, these are the lessons that we got to learn. This is what we got to do to evolve spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. And in essence, you've caused all these cycles to end and begin and start and end. But that's for a totally different day and different topic. But somebody needed to hear that. So there you go. You created these for you so that you can grow and evolve and raise your vibration, raise your awareness, become a better person, right? Come closer to yourself, closer to God, the field of potential, whatever you want to call it, your family, whatever. You created all of this. So just know, rest assured, that when you get to the end of the cycle, it's good. It's good news. It means that you've done what you came to do, you have evolved, and that it's time to move on. And that these things no longer serve your vibration, and or they were going to cause you more harm or something like that. So, and it's not going to get you where you want to go. So know that at the end of the cycle, you can move, rest assured, you're going to move into something better. Now, when we are talking about surrender, right, because this is the topic, is we're surrendering to the unknown. Now, I have so many issues with this, okay? Surrender, fuck that, okay? So many issues with surrender, right? And because I'm a control freak, just like everybody else, right? I don't care what anybody says. We're all fucking control freaks trying to control our life and control outcomes and circumstances and things like that. So what have I learned about surrender? Oh, God. I want to say that surrender is ultimately the idea that you know nothing. Right? I'm laughing at myself because that is a God honest truth, right? We know nothing about anything. We don't know anything about what happens after we die. We don't know. We can't even, like, science doesn't even know anything. It doesn't have absolute truth. It just has theories, right? So we really don't know anything. We don't even know what's good for us. We think we know what's good for us, but we actually don't know. We think we want something, but we actually don't know what we really want or really need. And I think that the surrender really is that we don't know anything and we really don't know what is good for us. And it's surrendering to the fact that whether you believe it or not, there is some sort of, like, I don't know, divine thing going on. I don't know if you want to call it that. You want to use electrons. I don't fucking know. But there's something else that's greater out there that knows what's better for us. That's the only way I can put it. Or rather, what is going to bring us ultimate happiness and contentment and love and freedom, right? Because that's really what we want. So in the surrender to the fact that you actually don't know what's good for you. You think you do, but you know. Surrender to the idea that you don't actually want to know how your life is going to play out. We think we want to know. Hell, I read tarot, I do oracle cards, like all that stuff. We all want to know what's going to happen to us. But do we really? Because if we knew what was going to happen to us, good, bad, and different, like, that's not really fun. Like, you think you want to know, but you really don't. Because then where's the surprise? It's like, Christmas comes and you open all your presents before Christmas morning. Like, what's the fun of that? Or you see the presents before they get wrapped and then you already know what you're going to have when Christmas comes. Like, that is so not magical, so not fun. It is just like boring as hell. Like, so when you're surrendering to the idea that not knowing is the magic. Not knowing is the best part of life, right? So that your anxieties can come back to the present. That if there is some sort of, matrix or God or whatever, right? If there is some sort of thing happening, that it's all going to work out for your highest good. Better, right? This new cycle that you're entering is going to be so much better than the old one, right? So you don't know how it's going to pan out. You don't know if that job's going to work out. You don't know if this direction's going to work out. You don't know if you're going to feel better. You don't know if you're going to find a new identity or come closer to yourself. You don't know what's going to happen. You just can't possibly predict it, right? You can't. You can try, you can visualize, but you cannot possibly see what is going to happen. You can't. And even if you could, would that really benefit you? Would it really benefit to know what was going to happen to you? I don't know. Maybe you think it would be better to know how your life is going to go, how this new cycle is going to begin, right? That's how I felt. I'm like, oh God, I need to know. I need to know what's going to happen to me. I'm too afraid. I'm too scared, right? Learning how. There we go. I don't know how many times I got offline. I'm going to have to start doing this differently. But anyway, I don't know what I was saying. Learning to accept the end of a cycle. Asking yourself those questions like we talked about, right? And surrendering to this idea that things are going to work out. How are you going to know that? I don't know. But like the video we talked about yesterday, where what would you rather think things are never going to work out for you? It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. Or would you rather have this idea that things are going to work out for you? It is going to be magical. It is going to be great. Things are going to come to you in the right time, in the right place. Like which thought process would you rather have? Which perspective? Right? Would you rather have about a cycle ending and beginning? Again, I don't know anything. None of us know anything, right? And I'm not here to preach jack shit to you. All I'm here is to talk about my experience and some realizations that I've had. That's it. All I know is that I would rather have this idea and this perspective that cycles are ending, right? Because I've learned those lessons. And it's okay to let go of things that no longer serve you. It's extremely difficult. I'm not sugarcoating shit, right? It's hard to let go of that. Let go of those identities. Step into the unknown and not know what's going to happen, right? It's hard. I'd rather have the idea that whatever new cycle I'm about to enter, if it is unknown and I can't see where it's going, I'd rather have the idea that it's going to be amazing, that I'm going to figure it out, right? That I'm going to find a new identity, right? That I'm going to find another job, that I'm going to find a passion, right? I'm going to meet new people, right? Wouldn't you rather have that or have more time with your family or do those things, right? So shifting your perspective into it's going to be okay. These things didn't work out. They weren't meant to. You learned what you had to, and you're better for it. The universe thinks it's ready. You're ready for a new opportunity, a new life, a new version of you is stepping forward, right? Holding on to my old identities, just like some of you are doing, didn't serve me. It only caused me more pain and suffering. If I had chose to just be like, well, fuck, this is what it is. I'm no longer this person. Like, here we go, stepping into the new one, going with the flow of life, going with the natural order of things. Fuck, I would have felt so much better. Sure, of course I would still have some anxieties and fears, but I wouldn't have been paralyzed by them, right? Paralyzed by, what am I now that I don't have this? What am I now that I do have this? Who am I now? Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. No. Letting it go. It is what it is. You can't get that back. You can't. You can try and pull and scream and kick and yell through the change or not. No matter what, it's not coming back because it's not for you. Doesn't serve you anymore. Maybe a version of some of those things will come back, but not that exact thing or those exact things. They will not come back. So you can go kicking and screaming, right? Holding yourself back. Fuck this. Or you can be like, well, what's that saying? It is what it is. Guess we got to move forward. And just take one step at a time. I'm the first person to tell you that, I try to plan out my life, right? Plan it out. I need it this way. It has to be this way. And I can't tell you how many times the universe said, no matter how many manifestations you make or whatever, we know what's best for you. Quit planning your freaking life. Quit planning that shit. Allow the cycles to end and new ones to begin. And so I've learned some pretty hard lessons there, right? That we don't know. We really don't know. Ask yourself, do you really know what's good for you? Do you really know what makes you happy? Do you really know what is love? Do you really know all of these answers? You don't. I don't fucking know jack shit. We think we know, we don't. So just take the end of the cycle and let it be. One step at a time into the new one. Just one step at a time. It's like the fog. You can only see so far, and that's okay. You don't know if there's a treasure waiting 100 feet from you or 1,000. You don't know that. All I know is once I stopped resisting the freaking cycles, magic shit started happening. Okay? More and more like fun shit started happening. Life started to get more easier. I started to be more in the present, right? I started to feel better. Feel better. Feel better. What does that mean? Ask yourself, what does it mean to feel better? What does it mean to be happy? What does it mean to feel those things? I will tell you, when you let go of this old cycle, step into the new one, you're going to feel like a badass, right? You're going to be like, boom, shit is moving here, right? So if you get anything from this, is that where you are is exactly where you should be right now in this space and time. As shitty as it is, as hard as it is at the end of the cycle, it is where you're supposed to be. And even if you just take one step in the new cycle, one step, let go of this hold that you have onto your old identity or hold that you have onto your job or your life or that relationship. Let go of it, because the universe is not bringing it back, and you're not bringing it back. And even if you did try to bring it back, it's going to fall away anyway. I know from my own experiences, my clients, people I talk to, they fall away anyway. So just let it go. It wasn't meant to be. Maybe it'll be meant to be in 20 years from now. I have no freaking idea. But holding on to it like this with your talons in it, it's not helping. Let it go for now. You don't know what's coming to you. And if you hold on to that end of the cycle, the new one can't begin and new stuff can't come towards you. So let it go. Go with the flow of life. The more life ebbs and flows, and we're going to talk a whole lot about this, ebbs and flows, ups and downs, right? Ride it out. Ride it out. It's time for something new. Allow it to come in for you. Allow it to be better. And go in with the idea to this new cycle that it is going to be better, right? Just like when I talked about the motherhood. I truly believe that on some level, my depression, anxiety, and OCD stem from me holding on to my old identity and not allowing myself to be like, well, I'm a mom now, right? I was like, no, I don't want to be a mom. I don't want my life to end. I don't want my identity to go away. This is all I know. If I just let go of it and be like, well, I'm a mom, things would have gone a lot better. Accepted my new identity, accepted who I am, right? And these identities, we're going to talk about the identities that we really, they're just make-believe. It's an illusion, but we're not there yet. So if you just accept that this is happening to you, surrender. Hey, I don't know what life's going to be like. I don't know, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Going with the flow, allowing life to take its cycles. That's the easiest way I can put it. It's going to be all right. But only you can tell yourself that, right? You can listen to all the motivational speeches you want. You can listen to all the tarot card readings you want. You could go to church. You could go here. You could go to there. Only you can decide what goes inside your brain and how you view the world and your life. How you view yourself. What do you want inside your brain? Do you want it to be filled with thoughts that things work out for you? Or do you want it to be filled with that your life fucking sucks? Right? Only you can make that decision. Okay? No, nothing else from outside can help you do that. Only you can make that core choice that you want to train your brain on something new. You want to see cycles of life that are thousands, if not billions of cycles you're going to go through. As that you grew, that you evolved, that you raised your vibration and you're ready for something new? Or do you want to see it as it's a disaster? Your life has ended. It's terrible. What do you want to see it as? You don't know who you are. Do you know what the beauty of not knowing who you are is? Is that the tower has fell and that you can now decide who you want to be. If your identity is fading away and you got an identity crisis, we'll do a whole segment on this. The beauty is you can create a new one, whatever one that you want, right? A cycle's ending. Guess what? The foundation fucking fell down. Well, now you can start again. You could start something better. You can start something newer. You can build a stronger foundation. You could have new love. You can have a new job. You can have a new business idea, whatever it is. You now, because the cycle's ended and you're at ground zero and the foundation is totally collapsed, the tower's collapsed, guess what? You could build a freaking new one, a better one, a stronger version of you, a better version of you, a better version of life, your job, your career, your love life. You can do that. That is the beauty of a cycle ending. You have a whole new one. You could start fresh. You are a brand new person at the end of a cycle, a brand new person. So maybe you're afraid of who you are. Maybe you're afraid to be that version of you. Well, let me tell you from personal experience, being afraid got me stuck, caused me lots of pain. Taking the risk, taking the steps, starting to build a new foundation, becoming a new version of me, and being unapologetic about it was the only way that I've been able to get through all the fucking hardships in my life. And probably the only way I'm going to be able to do it moving forward, right? Because pain is inevitable. Cycles ending is inevitable. Death is inevitable, right? So I'd rather feel like this, I am in the flow of life, right? Being able to say, this is new. I'm a new version. I'm stronger. I feel good. I can step into this, than to be like, no, the life is terrible. It's hard. I hate it. I don't like this. And going kicking and screaming. I'd rather go with the flow of life. I'd rather try. Anyway, I'm not saying that I am, but I'd rather try, right? So surrender a little bit. You don't know. You don't know. You can't possibly know. You can't predict. So why be afraid of what you can't predict? Why spend so much time and energy that could be used right now in this moment to appreciate what you have, worried about what the flying fuck is going to happen to you when you can't possibly predict it? I've suffered with an immense amount of anxiety over the years. Immense. And it has only led me to more pain. And the only thing that I have learned is that my anxiety didn't go away completely, right? Is that using my energy, misusing it, focusing so much on what's to come, I miss what is happening now, right in this moment. I couldn't see all the blessings I had. I couldn't be in the moment with my kid. I couldn't be in the moment with my family. I couldn't be in this moment with you because I was so worried about what I was going to do later, how this was going to happen, what other people on social media are doing. And we're going to talk a lot about this, that's living in this space that doesn't even exist. This time right now here, and if this is the end of your cycle, this is where you are, and this is what you need to hear, is focusing there and there is not going to help you right now. None of these things, you can't possibly predict that, and you can't hold on to that. So what are we doing? Like this, we are losing our energy, right? We're spending our time and energy on things that we can't fix, things that we can't control, things that are outside, right? Reel your energy in, take your power back. Start living in the moment now and changing your perception, your perspective, right? The way you view everything so that you could be here in the now. In the now. Use your energy here. Not out there, not back there. Right now. Appreciate what you have. And we'll talk about this. We'll use the movie Soul for this. But right now, focus on now. This is the end of your cycle. Acceptance. It's okay if you feel like shit. It's okay if you're exhausted. It's okay if you're scared. It's okay to feel feelings. It's okay. Feelings aren't good or bad, right? They're just feelings. Feel the feelings. Accept that this is where you are. Accept that you don't know what you're doing. Accept you know nothing about yourself. Accept that you know nothing about anything. Accept that shit. And then take one step at a time. And it might be the best things that have ever happened to you. It might be the best cycle that you enter into. You have no idea, right? So try, if you can, to just be like, yeah, maybe it will be the best thing that's ever happened to me. Maybe this new cycle will be awesome. Maybe that old cycle really no longer served me. What were the lessons I learned, right? And maybe, what am I going into? Right? Oh, this is fun. The unknown, right? Life is only magical if you allow it. It's only fun if you allow it. It's only exciting if you tell yourself that's what it is. And it only sucks if that's what you tell yourself it is too, right? I did that for such a long time. Okay? All right, my beautiful souls, I hope this was helpful for you in terms of surrendering to life cycles and understanding life cycles. And we will continue to talk about these things, philosophically, as well as spiritually, as well as scientifically. I got a ton of information on my brain that needs to come out. So I'm letting it flow here and seeing where this new cycle leads for me, right? So everything I'm talking about is just a direct reflection of my own life, right? It's a direct reflection of what's happening in my own life in this moment, right? It is not to say something is wrong with you or something is wrong with me. This is just life. Life isn't good or bad. It is just life. how we feel isn't good or bad. It is just feelings. It is just thoughts, right? So please know that I'm not here to do anything other than just talk about what I'm experiencing, what I've learned, and some realizations that I've come to, and just share them with you. Maybe they help, maybe they won't. I don't know. I can't tell you that. Only you can decide. All right. So I'll be back here tomorrow, and we'll talk about something else. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining. And I will talk to you soon. Until then, sending you so much light and love.